Okay, I'm going to do this sunflower scene. Reminds me, I think, of one of the Van Gogh scenes that he's done. So anyway, we're going to start off, just put in the pot like this at the base. Okay, just a bit of the shape of the pot. It's just round, really. The great thing about these sunflowers is that they almost just join into one big shape, but we have to, of course, imply bits and pieces. Some of these, not bits and pieces, but the petals. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. I'm being pretty loose with the petals as well, so that yeah, essentially we've got some detail in there, okay, but we're not overdoing it. In the center of this one, there's a larger one here, just like this. It's circular shape. Then I'm going to go in and draw these petals, and look at how the ones here on top, they just look smaller, almost like eyelashes. Yeah, they almost look like eyelashes. Come up, come down, and then as they get to the bottom, they start flaring out more. Okay, like this, and becoming quite erratic near the bottom. Okay, there we go. And what do we have here in the back? There's something in the back. It's like it's a sunflower as well, but it's kind of just sticking out like this. With the bits of green and stuff, and then we've got the head of the middle of it, and then some. We might actually be able to put in some petals because I think they've fallen off those ones here in the back. There. Okay, we've got one here. Notice how loose you can be with these as well. Okay, just the general. What we want to do is just get the general shape of the petals. Okay, some of them come forward, some of them are kind of blown back and forwards. But the ones here at the front, they're just going to be facing that way and quite large and coming out like this. Okay, we've got another one here, sort of goes over the top like that. This one's more easy to draw, it's just all over the place like this. There. Great. Another one coming out here, and some petals like this. The center part of the flower here. Another one coming out here. There's actually two. There's one here, which I'll just get in as well, just the petals. Okay, and then another one roughly roundly here. And a few of the petals going out towards the side. I think that looks pretty good. And we've got a leaf here. We need some kind of greens running through this section. It can't just be the sunflowers and that's it. We've got to have some greens and bits through this sort of mix. So some of this will help. I'm going to redo this base a little as well because it does look a bit basic. A basic base. It's just a circle. Look, a circle is fine. Okay, just a circle, and finish drawing it in. How else do we have it? Like this. Okay, you can't really see the opening of it. It's obscured behind the flowers. But there are some flowers here on the just left off, fallen off kind of thing, or just position, placed there. So I'm just going to draw a few here, that one there, like that. Maybe a few petals as well here. Next, down here. This would be good to put in some of those yellows on the ground as well. I'll just notice the base has actually got this kind of flat part at the bottom like that, so I'll just draw that in like that. There's another sunflower here that's kind of facing this way, and then you've got again bits coming out to this side, and then the stem moving towards the back. Another one here kind of moving out here as well. Okay, this is good. I think I'll actually add a last one here. as well, just closer to the front. Okay, and a few petals and things there. The base is it's sort of on the table, it runs across like this, and the rest of it we can kind of just make up, certainly, and go from there. So start out with some colour, bit of yellow ochre, not yellow ochre but lemon yellow, and I'm going to really just go for it, just get in the each of these petals as not as quick as I can, but fairly quick. This, yeah, some of them coming across there, inside, in there. I've got a fair bit of yellow paint to get through. Make sure that it's not mixed in with any other paint as well. I think yellow paint tends to be contaminated very easily with other paints, so mixed in with other paints and you sort of lose the yellow of them. So I always like to start with the yellows first, because that's the only way to kind of get them in without it mixing with anything else just yet. We do want it to mix, but just not too quickly with everything. So kind of want to let it sit in and mix on the paper first, and sort of not mix on the paper, but basically just sink into the paper a little first before we get into. Okay, a bit more on the ground as well for some of these flowers. This, here, here, these ones that are just on the ground. Okay, you can also add in a bit of, if you've got some gamboge yellow or some darker yellow, you can add them in as well to darken some of the leaves, or you can even add a little bit of orange to some of them. But this is what this does, is that the darker yellow helps to indicate some shadows, very, very basic shadows in the sunflower for the petals, believe it or not. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to add in some indications of little darker spots inside, and this will help to add some more contrast, a bit more detailing in there just quickly. Okay, and I'm not going to overdo it though. Don't overdo it. The ones in the ground, on the floor here, we don't need to worry too much about them, but yeah, these little petals, I've forgotten to colour some of these petals. Okay, now what I want to do as well, just to make sure I don't forget, is we want to get in a bit of kind of a darker colour in the centre, yeah, in the centre of the flower. And I've used, if we can use a bit of neutral tint for that, that's good. A bit of neutral tint mixed with yellow, like that, and just drop it in, okay, and let it sort of do its thing. I'll do this one just quickly like that. That one's done. Just using the edge of the brush, the side of the brush. So we've got a kind of looser sort of shape there. I think that's one there as well, over that side. Here on the ground, on the floor, we've got a few more like that. Okay. If it's not dark enough, just pick up a bit more paint and drop it in here. Especially for the middle section of the sunflower, it's actually a fair bit darker in the center, so I can just drop in a little bit extra here in some spots to create extra contrast. I think that should do it. Now, Sap Green, I do love this color to get in leaves and stuff like that, so let's not forget some of this Sap Green. And I've also got some Emerald Green too. There, there. I don't want to overdo it. I really don't want to overdo it. Even for these ones on the ground, like this. There. There. there are greens and things in here as well that we do need to get in. I think some negative painting later will be helpful for that section, but I will carry this down and get a kind of a brown color in for this vase, maybe like a brown with green mixed into it as well, something like that, so that I've got some sharpness for where the petals are as well. Just a couple of marks like that. Maybe a bit of yellow here, just a golden color like that. This is a bit of quinacridone gold there. A bit more of this earthen color around the edges here as well. Just bring this down, this base, this to the ground. Good, and then we can actually drop in some extra darker colors running across, kind of to imitate this pattern on it. But again, it's not 100% necessary. It's just a way that you can imitate it, I suppose. There is not enough yellow in there. I'm just dropping a bit more in here. You can also lift off some color to lighten it down in the center, that sort of thing. All this will just melt in together anyway, so there's not much we can really do about it. This stem, I've forgotten to get that little stem in, which joins on there, like that. Okay. This is looking good. Just having a look to see where can we start first. I think in the background I'm gonna go, we've got all this yellow. I think a bit of maybe purple and some green in areas would be nice, just because we've got some complementary colors that would be interesting. See what we can come up with. What's this color? It's not purple. It's a very muted purple. Anyway. It's a very muted sort of purple. Put a bit of that in, and also I've got some Moon Glow, which is it's a purple anyway. Or we can also mix up a bit of ultramarine here, a bit of ultramarine plus a little bit of carmine. That will create a vibrant purple, like that. And here we can start putting in already some of the background colors. More blue, more carmine. Just mix up this color. I like this here. And in some parts I don't mind if it mixes, in some parts I do want to keep it more sharper. So, for that part, see, I left that sharp. That petal has gone off pretty sharp as well, like that, like this. Here. We've got a flower here just sort of sticking out of the back, and of course we've got some green here, so I might just put a bit of red around this area to contrast a little bit more with that green. A lot of this is going to just blend in actually, but I don't want the area around the flowers to blend too much, so here we can just lift off in areas as well if you think that if it's kind of overkill. The base here, again, I might just dull it down to more of a neutral color here at the base. Okay, there, maybe like more brown in here and a bit of neutral color like this as well. I don't think this base is 100% dried yet, so we can try and just sort of go around the edge like this. Okay, there. But I do want to do this area as well before I forget, just the top part. more purple here. To get in some of these flowers. You only need to have a few of these petals poking out to indicate that there is something there. So trick is to just be pretty spontaneous with it and to not overthink it. You're kind of just painting the space in the middle and on the outsides of the flowers, like this. Here, 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 here. Here, here. You're going to have bits that are already dried, and we can't do much about that. You know, as long as we've got a good combination of both, you'll be fine. Here. That. There's too much leakage in this area. Let me just lift off some teeny bit in there. There's too much, way too much leakage in this section. Okay. That leaf there as well, which I'm going to cut around. And then we'll come down and it becomes just a more neutral colour I've decided to put in on that side. But around the, you know, definitely around the flowers, my goal there was just to get in more of a purpley kind of colour. Some of it's already kind of dried off on that right hand side. I'm just trying to mix this up as quick as I can before it dries up. And a bit more here. I'll probably go all the way to the edges. Not to the edges, but to the you know, a little border around the side. Might look nice just to have some more contrast going all the way through the painting, so that we've got yeah. Now I'm using the pretty small brush for this. I really should swap to a larger brush, but doesn't matter. Bit of ultramarine with a bit of carmine here. Look at that. And you're already seeing areas like this which are starting to bleed and melt in, that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, here. Just cutting around these little flowers on the ground, more ultramarine in here, so I can get some extra contrast. If I can get a bit more colour in here as well, just a little bit more darkness, that would be nice. Just mixing up more of this ultramarine. Some more of the red in there. Ultra. Okay, that's better. I need it. Sometimes you just need a bit more strength in some areas of it. Like that. So we've there, cutting around this edge here. It's kind of lighter on this side as well, so if it dries lighter on this side, sort of just what am I trying to do? Basically just lighten up this bit, for instance, then we'll be, yeah, we should be okay. But I'll bring this down like this. Again, just cut around some of these flowers and leave the yellow on it. Like that. There. Okay, good. Great, now the base needs a little bit more darkness in here. A little bit more darkness. Right. Okay. There will be a shadow here as well. Pretty purplish dark shadow. Just underneath the base of this pot and extending out towards the right, like this. And I'm just keeping, everything else fairly light down the base. So if I just essentially just pick up a bit of brown or something like that and just drop that in here. And I also have some lavender, see if that works. That might be nice, just a really subdued color and light here that I can just mix in and join with this sort of shadow without it doing all too much. That, okay. There, bring across to this side. Yeah, good. Okay. Little bit of tissue paper as well. I thought some of this, it's just bled into the flower, and I don't want too much of that going on in areas like here. But we'll leave some of it, certainly, to see what happens. Even here they might be, it should be okay anyway, but I thought I'd lift off a bit there. We're just going to look at the shadows as well that are forming on the surface. So I think probably just this one thing, if we go in and just put in a bit of this shadow coming down the pot like this should be okay to sort of indicate, just some shadows on the pot, I suppose. Bring that down a bit. Okay. Righto. We'll let it dry now. Alright, to finish this one off, I will be putting in some final dark bits and pieces in here. Mainly just the shadows. So I'm going to start with the shadow. And if we go in and we just pick up a little bit of neutral tint, I'm just going to mix this around here. It's actually Payne's Grey. A bit of Payne's Grey for the shadow, and I'll put in some red, a little bit of red. Okay. And what we can do, we can just start to get in some shadows. Now, again, we don't want a huge amount of contrast, but we want enough in there. So I'm going to start around here first, okay? Just test that around that side of the pot, okay? And I'm just looking and seeing if it's enough, the darkness is enough to continue on. Okay, so that's a bit of dark color there, and I'm just going to go ahead and put this shadow on the wall like this. Okay, and we can have some of the jagged sort of bits sticking out and stuff. Actually, some of it just sort of comes and touches this sunflower as well. In fact, there should be a little perhaps segment in there too. Okay. But it's certainly a sharper shadow on the wall, and it comes all the way down to the ground. Using more of this paint. Okay, but just making sure we've got that sort of area defined on the pot, where on the right hand side. Okay, and again we've just it goes over some of the flowers and stuff. Mainly sort of just hits the wall and then continues on. Okay, so a little bit of that there. I want to soften the edge of this pot as well. and also get in some little details for it. If I can just dry off that dry brush a little bit of detail here for the pot, you know, little bit of detail for the pot. I think we should be good. Just a little edge for that pot and areas here. Any other bits and pieces that you think you can darken off and create extra contrast, feel free to do that. And this is just a stem, which I went, you know, emphasize a bit more. There's also a bit of a shadow running down the pot as well, so we can get in a bit of that light sort of shadow. But you know, with that said, it is kind of dark up the top of that shadow, so just around here it's pretty it's certainly got a lot of contrast in there, so we'll try putting in more contrast in these areas. Just go over those sections of the flower. I don't want to get into the yellow, but just enough in there. Okay. Like that. Good. Here. And we'll just start putting in this sort of generalized shadow running down the pot. Yeah. There. Some light coming through, as you can see. But the rest of it is just, you know, fairly dark. Darker than you think. All the way down to the base here. I kind of, for some reason, left the back of that too light. Scrub a bit of that out. Continue down. Okay. Great. Yeah, basically that's almost about it. You could go in and just put in this little segment of area at the back there of the wall. Bit of detail and stuff here on the table. You know, there's a kind of tablecloth here. It's up to you really, but apart from that, it's pretty much done. You know, you can always just pick up a little bit of extra pigment, and again, just yeah, again, just like refine areas like that petal, for instance. This one here, we could do that sort of thing in areas. But you don't want to overdo it because, again, a lot of that colour and a lot of that detail is already in there. Just a quick mix. Okay. If you do have a bit of gouache as well, it can help. If you want to get out some more of the yellows in there and detail a bit more. So I've got a bit of yellow gouache, and you can just pick up some of that and have a bit of a play around. Let me just have a look. You know, I think you've missed off a bit there or something, or you want to emphasize a bit more there. It's a bit tricky. I'm trying to get in a bit of this gouache, but it's refusing to incorporate. And the thing with this is that you just got to use it very sparingly, because it's easy to just, yeah, for it to just look a bit unnatural and stick out if we are not careful. Okay, so a little bit like that. Little, you know, more of these petal-like shape and structures might be helpful over on that side here as well. Just reclaim a bit of that. here even, like that. Good. Even on the pot we might want to get in a bit of an opaque colour through here on the pot. I'm not going to fiddle around that pot way too much. Yeah, I think I'm happy with how that looks. I keep saying that even though I've fiddling around with bits and pieces here and there, but sometimes it takes that.
If you like this video, check out the playlist on the right. I release new tutorials and art supply reviews each week to help you progress faster in your watercolour journey.